And look, there's one number that's called every major American housing crash for the last 200 years. And this summer, it flashed. The man who tracks that number predicted the early 90s housing downturn nearly a decade before it happened. And he called 2008 years in advance as well. And this past December, a Florida realtor took that same number and told 300,000 people the exact month home prices would hit rock bottom. That was 8 months ago, which puts us about 6 months out from his market bottom prediction of February 2027. And I've been thinking about that date ever since, wondering, how are we tracking? Because when you look at the evidence he shared, it's clear that this isn't your normal run-of-the-mill, the sky is falling type prediction. So I say let's do it. Let's check in on how his prediction is holding up, because either way, it's already playing with your equity. We'll walk through his process, step by step, the formula, the 3 dials he's factoring, and we'll be able to either confirm or adjust his rock bottom date. And if you own a home, this matters as much to you as it does to the people waiting to buy the dip. Because what I found is just as meaningful when it comes to what's happening to you and your home's value. Let's start with the origin of his formula. In 1933, an economist named Homer Hoyt sat down with 100 years of land records from the city of Chicago. Every sale, every boom, every bust, going back to 1836. And he found something that shouldn't exist. Land prices in America don't rise and fall randomly. They peak, crash, and peak again, roughly every 18 years. Then, in the 1980s, a British economist named Fred Harrison picked up where Hoyt left off. He mapped the same rhythm across 2 centuries and broke it into 2 moves, about 14 years up, about 4 years down. Specifically, you get 7 years of prices slowly going up with a small dip in the middle, then 7 years where prices explode, followed by a 4-year crash. That's where we get the 18 from. That's the one number. But generally, it's 14 up, 4 down. That's the formula. And it's this pattern that led to Harrison accurately calling the early 90s and 2008 downturns. So he's 2 for 2. And here we are in 2026, time for the 3rd. But this realtor, Andy Coleman, noted 2 anomalies happening right now that were missing from the previous 2 cycles.
However, there's something happening right now that's never happened before in any of these 12 previous cycles, which changes things dramatically.
That could prolong the current market conditions or even realistically accelerate our plummet to the bottom.
That's why we can't only rely on this pattern, because there's 2 more factors we have to consider.
So by using this 18-year cycle plus these 2 anomalies, we've got 3 dials to factor. Dial number 1, the timing or the trend, 14 years up, 4 down. By his read, the last peak hit in June 2022, and prices have been sliding ever since. Per the formula, that's when the 4-year countdown began, but we haven't seen the dramatic fall we should have seen yet. Andy then identified, though, something that's happening right now that's never happened before in any of the 12 previous 18-year cycles, which he suggests could be interfering with this pattern for the first time in 200 years, causing a delay. Now, we've still got a little time, so it remains to be seen. The prediction, it's still intact for now, but to narrow in on the exact date, enter dial number 2, the price. He pulls up the national chart and points at 3 peaks since 2022. Up, dip, up, dip, up, a triple top. The same shape, he says, that showed up before the 2008 slide. And by his math, prices still have about 9% left to fall to get back to the long-term trend line, landing the median American home around $374,000. And he clocked the speed of the slide too. By his read, the median price was falling about $2,100 every month. And then there's dial number 3, affordability. The old rule of thumb says a house should cost about 3.5 times a family's yearly income. He marks the 2009 bottom at 3.7 times income. That's his picture of what a floor looks like. So his December reading, though, was 4.9% and declining. So we were moving steadily toward the bottom. Then, at the very end, he stacks all 3 dials into one formula. Take that $2,100 a month slide, aim it at the $374,000 floor, write it about 16 more months, and the needle lands on a single square of the calendar, February 2027. That's rock bottom date. Buy the dip then, he said. That was his big reveal 8 months ago. And here we are today. So let's look to see if we're still on track for his February bottom prediction. Dial 1, the timing. The pattern is real. Hoyt's 100 years of records are real. Harrison's track record is real. We really are deep into an 18-year cycle. And on the 200-year pattern, a turn really is due in this stretch. So far, on track. Even if we're behind a little, we're not off track. Now dial 2, price. Supposed to be falling around $2,100 a month, headed for this $374,000. Instead, though, in June, the median American home set a brand new all-time record of $440,600. Over the last 12 months, it didn't fall $2,100 a month. It rose about $440 a month, averaged across the year. So wrong direction the whole way. So now, did we miss the bottom, or is something else happening? Let's look at dial 3, affordability. The median home is $440,600, median household income around $83,000. Grab a calculator. That's more than 5 times income. His December reading said 4.9, and we're sitting today at 5.3. We've reversed direction here. Homes have become less affordable since. But in fairness, there's still time on his clock. Not much though. 6 months to go. Feels like a long shot, but there's one gauge he never put on screen. It's the part about your equity, and it's what's really keeping his prediction alive. Prices, they don't drop in just one way. There are 2 different ways it can happen. The price you see on Zillow can fall. That's the loud way. That's 2008. That's what everybody can see. Or the price can stand still while every dollar it's made of buys less. Inflation. That's the quiet way. Nobody sees that one, not in real time at least. And so in June of last year, the median American home sold for $435,300. This June, $440,600, up $5,300 on the year. On paper, it reads like you made money, a little over 1%. Now hold your grocery receipts next to that number, your insurance renewal, your property tax bill, the truck. Did any of those go up 1%? Or did they go up a lot more? Meaning the pile of dollars your house represents buys less than it did when the price was lower. That's not a theory. Adjusted for what a dollar actually buys, the value of American homes has now fallen for 11 straight months, while the sales price set records. You didn't flip houses, you didn't gamble, you paid one mortgage on one house and fixed the roof when it leaked. And the one scorecard everyone told you to watch, that Zillow number, is the one scorecard that can't show you where you're actually bleeding. So the fall Andy predicted, it's real. It's just running where his charts weren't looking. Prices are falling in what they buy, not in how they read. So that brings us to the last correction, and it isn't mine. It belongs to the man who owns the formula. Because when I went back to Fred Harrison, I didn't find him walking anything back. In fact, I found him doubling down. Harrison went on record back in 2022 and said the peak of this cycle lands in 2026. And in his latest warnings, he's narrowed it even. Late 2026, that's the real danger zone. So watch for prices to level off at the top, then go over the edge, he says. The full cycle by his map runs through 2028. Now, run the tape measure yourself. The last bottom in American housing was 2011-2012, the smoking crater of the last crash. Count 14 years up from there, and you land right about now. 14 up, 4 down, right? We are standing on year 14 as I'm talking to you. So Andy had the right formula, but he put the peak in 2022 and the bottom in early 2027. Harrison's own map puts the peak at the end of 2026, which would make early 2027 not the floor, but right about where the floor gives away. And run the model's own math. 4 years down from a late 2026 peak puts the actual bottom closer to 2030. But at the end of the day, we don't have a crystal ball, we're all guessing. And if you know me, you can probably guess where my guess is. I'm more in the camp that we've already seen the bottom, and here's why. And after 20 years in this business, I think this is the biggest factor to consider. It's as simple as this. In 2008, we were overbuilt. Too many houses, not enough people. Not enough qualified buyers, to be specific. And so we were using shady lending practices to buy them all up. When the market consists of oversupply and high-risk loans, the market can't do anything but crash. I didn't see it at the time. I mean, we didn't have access to the type of info we do now. But in hindsight, it's crystal clear. It's very obvious as to why the market crashed. Now today, 2026, we're seeing the opposite. A decade of underbuilding, a bigger population, meaning more people, and some of the strictest lending standards we've ever seen. So when a market is low in supply, high in demand, and money is scarce, the market can't do anything but not crash. And what I continue to find remarkable is that logic is blatantly obvious to people when you're talking about Cabbage Patch Kids or Pokemon cards and a dozen eggs amid a bird flu. No duh, prices can only go one way, they only go up. However, when you swap in housing under the same low supply, high demand, scarce money conditions, people will swear the market is on the verge of a catastrophic crash like we've never seen. That logic defies basic economics. Andy says we're going to hit the bottom around February 2027. Harrison says closer to 2030. I think the bottom is already in, and it's only up from here for the foreseeable future. I don't know, what do you think? Let me know down below in the comments. Regardless of who is right though, historically, there's never been a bad time to buy real estate. Never. I mean, how could there have been? Prices are at an all-time high. If you own a house, you've made money. Just a bad time to sell. And nobody knows when we hit the exact bottom of any market until we're really looking at it in the rearview mirror. I bought all the way through the last bottom, 2010, 2011, 2012, when this same formula said the down leg was ending. And I can tell you, nobody rang a bell on a rock bottom day. None of us knew. And I can also tell you with confidence that everyone who was buying alongside me back then all wishes today they had bought more and sold less. Time in the market has always beaten timing the market. So whichever camp turns out to be right, prices up or down or sideways, inflation runs either way. It doesn't care who wins this argument. And JP Morgan, they know that, as they just told their wealthiest clients something it didn't tell the rest of its customers. And that's why I pulled this video out here for you to watch next. Buried in their private 2026 outlook are 3 words that should concern every homeowner in America, along with the strategy that they're recommending that will benefit from the Fed's inevitable move. And that will lead you to running your house like a business, a real business, defending it like your home. God loves you, and so do I. Take care.